few years ago, my life looked totally different than it does now. Even though I've always been a freelancer, which means that I've technically always set my own schedule, just a few years ago, I was working at the whim of clients, which meant that I was often overworked and underpaid and just surviving on the brink of burnout. But the last few years have felt like I'm living a totally different life. I have had 2 babies, and leading up to my first maternity leave, I was able to refine my business so that I was even taking Fridays off almost every single week. After my first maternity leave, I was able to return to work with just part-time hours without sacrificing any revenue or take-home pay for myself, and then do it all over again with my second maternity leave after the birth of my second son. Now it's pretty cool because I'm able to work part-time hours but bring home a full-time income, all while working around my family's schedule and still achieving the things that I want to. I think that all of the success I've seen comes from the clarity that I have around my goals, my reason why, and the path forward that I've designed after careful and intentional reflection and planning. In previous videos, I've talked about how to do a business reset or how to reset your entire life if you're feeling kind of overwhelmed. I've also talked about goal setting, but I haven't really brought those together in a single video to show you how you can design your business and set your business goals so that it aligns with the ideal life that you want. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video, how I bring together both the lifestyle with the business side of things so that I can design this ideal work-life integration that works for myself, helping me achieve my goals and fits with the lifestyle that my family and I want. So I have some notes here on my phone to kind of guide this conversation, but it's going to be a little bit chatty and kind of sharing my experience with all of these things so that hopefully you get some ideas or inspiration so that you can do something like this too. And if you stick around to the end, then I'll share with you how you can learn more about how to realign and integrate your work and your life too. Hey, if you don't know me, I'm Jill Wise, and I talk about online business through a motherhood lens. So everything that I share is coming from that perspective, which I think is really important because now as a parent, it's really hard for me to take advice from those who don't understand the season of life that I'm in. Because especially as working moms who are at home with our babies all the time, we can't just work harder or push more or stay up later or wake up earlier when you are drained from taking care of little ones all day, or you just don't want to have to sacrifice time with them. So all of the advice that I share or the insight comes from that place of understanding what it is like to be in a really busy season where you can't really control everything. So instead of trying to control everything, we're going to take what we have and work with that and try to realign your business so that it fits your life right now. And the cool thing is that the result of doing this is that your business becomes like this tap that you can turn on and off and burn down and rebuild so that it fits whatever season of life you're in. So on the topic of burning down and rebuilding, we could also refer to this as a business reset. So let's say you go through some pivotal moment, whether that is something like becoming a mom or moving or just realizing that you don't want to be working as much or learning something about the type of work that you want to do, you're going to need to reset. I've talked a little bit about this before, but basically a business reset is just asking yourself what you want to be doing right now and how that fits into the actual life that you want. So for me, that often means that I'm going to go back to the goals that I set at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to see what is still aligned with me right now. What goals can I cross off the list? What have I already done? What have I achieved? What doesn't maybe feel that great anymore? And just recenter around those. I also break down my annual goals into quarterly priorities and then monthly and weekly actions that are very specific. So once I've gone back to that annual bigger picture, then I will get into the quarter specific and see what needs to change. Where does my focus need to shift and how am I going to make that change happen? I won't get too much into this because like I said, I have shared other videos about this, but basically you can do a business reset whenever. You can check in with yourself and say, is this working for me or is it not? And then you have the power to make impactful change. I love starting with the goal setting step with those who are in my mastermind because this helps them like check in with what they actually want, and then we start these conversations around like what it is that you're setting out to do, and does this really align with me, or am I only putting down these goals because I feel like I need to do them? And that realization often comes from the work that I do with my clients, because maybe they realize that the goals that they set from themselves at the beginning of the year, now at this time of filming, we're halfway through the year, they don't actually want to do those things. And maybe they thought that they had to, so that's why they wrote them down originally, but on further reflection, they realized that that's somebody else's dream and not theirs. So that's why this check-in or reset is so important, regardless of what stage of business that you're at, and especially important if you're going through some sort of major change in your life. Which leads me to the next thing that I want to talk about, and that is goals that don't actually happen or don't actually need to happen. So maybe, like a lot of my clients find, there's goals that you've set that you don't actually want to do, or they don't really align with this current season. Maybe they did and now they don't anymore, or you just realize that they're not your dreams. That's cool. But overall, setting goals is going to be a huge waste of time if you're not doing it right too. And that's going to be a reason why you aren't achieving a lot of them. Now, what do I mean by setting goals the right way? Specifically, it's breaking it down into actual actionable steps that you're going to take and then adding those as individual blocks to your calendar. So I mentioned that when I'm setting my annual goals, I will break that down into quarterly and then monthly and then weekly actions. This is so important. So many of us will set these lofty goals for the year and then realize that it's not happening, and it's because we're not making space for it. And often you're not making space for it because it either doesn't actually matter to you or you're not being realistic about the goals that you're setting. So something that I encourage you to do if you really want to have that work-life integration and achieve the things that you want to in your business, but also make it fit into your lifestyle, is breaking it down into the specific quarterly, monthly, and weekly action. Like, when are you actually going to get these things done? And is it reasonable for you to expect to get these things done? A lot of the times when we're not achieving what it is that we set out to do, it's maybe not that we're like failing or something like that, but rather our expectations are just not aligned with what we are working with. Which leads me back to what I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, that everything that I share is through the perspective or the lens of a mom to young children. Like, I understand that we're working with situations that we can't always control. So what are your expectations? What is it that you want to achieve? And you might find that something has to give. So it's up to you to decide what that is. So how do you set goals that you actually can achieve? Let's talk about that next. I always encourage my clients to start by reflecting on where you have been. Like, what have you accomplished so far? Celebrate that. I ask my clients to submit reflections that are based on journal prompts, like digital journal prompts that I have set for them to help them check in with themselves, but then also check in with me. So we start there. That also helps us take inventory of the present. So what is working, what's not working, what do we want more of, what do we want less of, what are we learning about ourselves? These are questions that you'll hear me ask often, especially if we are going to work together, but these are things that you can ask yourself too. These, I think, are especially important if you're a freelancer or a personal brand, or you're running an online business as a solopreneur, because professional development is so closely tied to your personal development and your self-improvement and how you are working on yourself. So you need to check in with yourself to see how that's going. So we take inventory of the present and we get grounded in what it is that we are doing well, not well, what we like and we don't like. And then from there, we're able to dream towards the future. So where do you want to be in 10 years, in 5 years, in 1 year? And what does it feel like? What does it look like? I ask my clients to get so specific, and I do this for myself too. It's less about setting goals and more about setting that like vision or that intention and just knowing what it is that you want your life to look like. And we start with your life first, even if it is about your business goals, because what you want for your life will shape what it is that you want with your business and how that's going to support you achieving these goals. Like I mentioned, I use reflection templates that I've built inside my Notion account, and I share this with my clients so that we can be really specific and realistic and just kind of like guide this whole process, because if you just set out blindly, it can be kind of challenging. You don't know exactly what kind of things you should be thinking about or looking for, or how to make it intentional and specific and realistic. So having that base is really helpful. But then we always take it one step further. So we have our vision exercise and we have our goals that we want to achieve. But then I ask my clients and myself to look at, what is my ideal calendar? Like, how do I want every single day to look? And it doesn't have to be exact or perfect, because it's not going to be, especially if you are in a season like I am. I definitely can't control how every single day goes, but it's giving you a ballpark and helping you kind of see where all of these things fit in. So for example, if you say that you want to have more time to work on yourself, or more time to work out, or more time to write a book, or more time to develop a course for your freelance business, whatever that is, you need to actually find blocks of time in your calendar to fit all of these things in. Like, how does that actually play out? How does it math out? It needs to all fit into the week that we all have, along with your client work and your revenue generating work and anything that you have with your family or whatever else is important to you. So this is where the true work-life integration starts to come into play, because rather than just making a list of things that you want to do and then not like breaking it down into specifics, you are able to start to visualize what your days will look like and like where it's actually going to fit in order to make it happen. So this is kind of the overall process that I follow for myself and I guide all of my clients through. And I hope that this starts to help you align your work with your life too, and maybe set better goals that feel more realistic and that you can actually achieve. But if you're still feeling a little bit lost about how it all fits together, let's next talk about why this process works. The steps between designing your vision and setting your goals and then creating your ideal calendar helps you set this foundation that you can rely on as you are making decisions in your day-to-day. So something that I like to do is actually keep my visioning and my goals and my ideal calendar handy, so that as I'm faced with major decisions, I ask myself, like, does this fit into what I want? And if it doesn't fit in, is it because what I want has changed, which is okay, and then we can realign everything from the beginning? Or is it something that doesn't really matter? Maybe I don't need to do it right now. Maybe it's a great idea, but I can park it for later. And I'm sure as a fellow entrepreneur, you can relate to the idea of having a lot of ideas and just needing to figure out what you should be focusing on right now. So having this foundation in place to kind of check yourself helps you make sure that you are focusing on the things that not only matter to you, but are going to move the needle and help you just live a better work-life balance, so that you can start to get out of that feast and famine and the overworked and underpaid and just like being the order taker for your clients. So really, when you have these foundations, all of those big decisions or even the small daily decisions that you're faced with become a very easy yes or no. Do I do this or do I not? So then rather than you relying on somebody else for all of the answers, you start to realize that you have all of the answers for yourself, which I think is a very powerful realization for all people, not just entrepreneurs, to realize. So basically this work is where you start to develop the plan or the how, like how you are going to make these things happen, how you are going to achieve the work-life integration that you want, how you are going to make your dream life a reality and build a business that supports that. So consider that the high-level overview of my life design and goal setting process and how I bring the both of those together. Now, if you liked this and you want to learn more about how I do this specifically or what is possible for you, I have 2 resources. The first is the 6-figure schedule, which is a peek at my actual calendar and how all of the things that I do fit into a typical week. It also includes some reflection questions so that you can get started on your own, and a few other resources to help you get started on the journey to see what is actually possible for you as a freelancer or online business owner, and how you can start to work less and make more and realign your business to support the life that you want. And if you are ready to go all in, you're like, this sounds great, I want to start doing the work right now, then you need to check out my mini course that is called Align and Integrate. It is the basis of this. Like, it'll actually walk you through the ideal calendar exercise and the goal setting exercise and the specific prompts that I give those who are inside my mastermind, so that you can start to do the work on your own too. Now, because I know that you are probably a busy person, if you are anything like me, if you are going to go ahead with that course, you can recreate your work-life reality in under 2 hours. Like, I would set the goal to do it in 2 hours or less. The videos are bite-sized and actionable, and there's no time wasting in there. And then the tools are things that you can actually do and start to implement right away. I will leave both of those linked for you below. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about in this video or either of those resources, then I am happy to answer those questions in the comments. And if you like this video, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I wish you the best of luck on your journey to create better work-life balance. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I will chat with you soon.